43% alluvial cover, 21.76% forested area, 2.02 million square kilometers of exclusive economic zone, major iron deposits in Odisha, limestone in Rajasthan, and tropical evergreen belts scattered across the northeast. Stop. Before we attempt to map India's resources, we have to define exactly what we're measuring. Academically, a natural resource is any naturally occurring material exploitable for economic gain, classified across 4 specific metrics. First is origin. Resources are either biotic, living systems like soil profiles, forests, and wildlife, or abiotic, non-living components like water, minerals, and bedrock. Second is exhaustibility. Forests and surface water regenerate and are renewable. Mineral deposits and fossil fuels have fixed limits, they are non-renewable. Third is ownership, whether a resource is controlled by an individual, a community, or a nation. And finally, the status of development. We measure if a resource is merely potential, actively developed, held in reserve, or classified as inaccessible stock. For UGC NET candidates, looking at this massive inventory often creates a specific professional trap, trying to memorize the location of every distinct resource through sheer repetition. That is a failing strategy. India's natural resource distribution is a highly deterministic output. We can map every resource by applying the tripartite linkage matrix. This framework uses 3 geographic baselines: geological history, or rock type, climatology, meaning precipitation, and topography, the physical relief. The overlapping of these 3 layers mathematically dictates exactly where a specific resource must exist. Applying this systemic framework provides the physical logic needed for advanced spatial analysis. Let's build the matrix. The ancient crystalline rocks dominating the eastern peninsula weather to form red and yellow soils, colored by iron oxide. This zone forms the Chotanagpur Belt, India's primary mineral heartland, yielding massive deposits of iron ore, bauxite, and mica. Here, the red hue of the surrounding earth is the direct surface evidence of heavy metallic ores being pulled from the crystalline structure below. Shifting westward, the geology changes sharply to the Deccan Trap, formed by prehistoric basaltic lava flows. When this basalt weathers, it creates moisture-retaining black soil, perfectly conforming to the exact footprint of that ancient lava flow. That high moisture retention is the exact physical requirement for mature cotton cultivation, making this specific zone the premier agricultural engine for the textile industry. Returning to the map, we contrast these ancient hard rocks with sedimentary basins, specifically the Permian-era Gondwana basins located in the Damodar Valley. These Gondwana sediments hold India's coal reserves. Massive open-pit extraction is possible because millions of years of organic compression occurred in this specific geological pocket. Bedrock geology alone dictates the primary economic engines of heavy industry and foundational agriculture before a single drop of surface weather is even considered. Adding the atmospheric layer maps out India's annual precipitation using isoheights. Isolating zones receiving over 200 centimeters of rainfall reveals tight concentrations along the Western Ghats, northeast India, and the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. This extreme moisture guarantees a specific biological output: dense, multi-layered tropical evergreen forests, dominated by high-value hardwood species like rosewood, ebony, and mahogany. But extreme seasonal moisture striking the high plateaus of the Western Ghats triggers severe chemical degradation known as leaching. Relentless water washes away essential nutrients, leaving behind highly acidic, laterite soils with very low general agricultural fertility. Yet this heavily leached acidic profile is the precise requirement for specific cash crops. Terrace tea plantations and cashew groves thrive under these exact conditions. Moving inland, the moderate moisture zone, receiving 70 to 200 centimeters of rain, yields India's most extensive forest cover, tropical deciduous. This splits into moist forests in the east, yielding teak and sal, and dry forests in the interior, producing tendu and axlewood. Contrast this entirely with the northwest region, where annual rainfall drops below 70 centimeters, necessitating xerophytic plant adaptations. Vegetation is sparse, characterized by deep root systems and thorny structures built to survive the arid, high-evaporation environment. Precipitation functions as an active chemical agent that overrides the baseline bedrock to redefine the surface soil output. The final geographic layer is topography. Physical relief dictates the flow of India's 12 major river basins, highlighting the northern Himalayan river systems, the Ganga, Indus, and Brahmaputra. We see basins originating at extreme elevations. These steep, glaciated valleys ensure a perennial year-round water supply, fed by both glacial melt and monsoon rains. As these massive rivers descend, they mechanically erode the mountain rock, carrying vast quantities of silt and sediment into the lowlands. Continuous deposition creates alluvial soil. Covering roughly 43% of India's landmass across the plains and deltas, it forms the agricultural heartland. Contrast this with peninsular rivers like the Godavari and Krishna, originating in the lower Western Ghats elevations. These southern rivers are purely seasonal, relying entirely on rainfall, and they flow over hard, unyielding crystalline rock, which limits their erosive power. This topography strictly controls groundwater as well. The deep alluvial plains in the north yield highly productive aquifers, while the hard rock of the peninsular south limits groundwater storage to narrow, fractured rock aquifers. Relief and drainage act like a massive conveyor belt, systematically stripping geological material from high elevations and redistributing it as agricultural wealth in the plains. Beyond the 7,516-kilometer mainland coastline, a boundary extending 200 nautical miles outward reveals a 2.02 million square kilometer exclusive economic zone. Within this zone, submerged sedimentary basins govern petroleum and natural gas reserves, specifically in the Mumbai High and Krishna Godavari basins. This offshore platform operates in deep water to extract the energy trapped within those exact tertiary sediment layers. Moving back to the coastal littoral zones, river deltas mix with ocean tides. The Sundarbans, the world's largest mangrove delta, relies on this saline-tolerant environment to function as a vital biological nursery and a physical storm buffer. Local coastal climates dictate specific outputs. In the arid Rann of Gujarat, low rainfall and high evaporation create perfect conditions for commercial salt production. The extraction and sustainable management of offshore fisheries, minerals, and energy assets are strictly governed by the National Blue Economy Policy Framework. India's resource base extends well past the shoreline. Its marine wealth is governed by the exact same intersections of geology and climate. They are simply submerged. For the UGC NET exam, mastering this material requires correlating the inputs. Parent rock plus climate threshold equals resource yield. When facing multiple choice questions, eliminate options using the most distinctive geographic marker. A reference to Deccan basalt leaves only one logical soil output, black soil. A reference to Gondwana rock instantly isolates coal. The same logic applies to biology. Matching a vegetation belt to its exact rainfall threshold instantly identifies its representative species. Above 200 centimeters yields rosewood, below 70 centimeters yields acacia. But this matrix is highly vulnerable to human variables. Over-extraction causes severe water table decline. Over-irrigation creates waterlogging and salinity. Unregulated grazing strips away the vegetation. Maintaining the baseline requires intervention. Mechanisms like the National Forest Policy mandate a 33% forest cover target. Joint Forest Management and the Compensatory Afforestation Fund physically restore the vegetation layers. Because resources are exhaustible, long-term economic stability relies on sustainable practices across every sector, from micro-irrigation for agriculture to rigorous mineral recycling for heavy industry. The geography of India's resources follows a specific physical logic, where every state and every yield is a predictable consequence of rock, relief, and rainfall. Understand the inputs, and the answers map themselves.